Okay guys, so what we're doing today is we're going to replace the rear disc brake, and the reason I'm replacing it is because when I ride the bike and hit the brakes it makes a lot of noise. What I did is I just went and purchased a new Shimano disc brake rotor, 160 millimeter, which is what this is. I measured it, and it's a Dior XT, which these are XT brakes. So we're going to get to it. We're going to put this new rotor on. And in case you're wondering, I have replaced the pads already once, and the noise still persists, so I'm believing it's the rotor at this point. The first thing you have to do, of course, is take the wheel off, and this has a through axle. And I'm going to move the camera. So what we're going to do now is we have these star bolts. This is a 6-bolt disc brake, and I've got the correct size nut here, or the driver. I actually don't know what it is. I think it's like a T30 or T35, but don't quote me on that. But you just got to find the right one. The other thing you'll notice is these tabs. Some of these are bent down, so I'm just going to take my needle nose and flatten those out. It's just to provide an extra layer of protection from the bolts loosening up, because obviously you don't want your disc brake bolts coming out while you're riding the bike. So just go around and flatten those out. And take your handy tool. Now these, I don't know how tight they are. They're not too bad. Should be able to get them with a nut driver. There's your old disc brake rotor, a little worse for wear. So I'm going to clean this up. It's not too bad, but I'm going to clean it up real good and get the new rotor out. Okay, so I've got it all cleaned up, and now I'm going to unbox the new rotor. And we'll see what comes in the box. So I've got the rotor. It's got a little warning label there. And in the back here I've got some new screws with Loctite already on them, so that's good for me. Don't have to go out and get some Loctite. I wasn't going to anyway, but now I don't have to bother with that. There's some instructions that we should read. Of course, it shows the washer, and then the new bolts with the new lock nuts on them. So when you're taking this all apart, be careful not to put your fingers all over the new rotor. Let's see the warning. So we've got the new rotor, and of course you got to make sure you get on the right way. This is obviously the back, and that's the front, so it just sets on there and just lines up with the bolt holes there. Looks like it'll be pretty good. So I'll set the washer in place. Of course I've cleaned the washer off, and then I've got my pack of new hardware here. So let's go ahead and bring that open. So these have a different type of clip. It's just something that pops up, so when you tighten it down it keeps it from turning back. It doesn't look like it makes any difference which way you put them on. So the tricky part will be the first one. Once you get the first one started, shouldn't be too much trouble after that. And so I'm just going to start it. I'm not going to put any torque on these, and I will look through the material because they should list a torque specification on these, and these are ones, I mean, I could just go in, and if you don't have a torque wrench, just kind of remember how much pressure you put on it when you were taking it apart. So just let that be out there, and that will keep it, I think that just keeps enough pressure on it so it won't turn. I'm sure the Loctite is actually doing most of the work there, but they don't want any liabilities when it comes to brakes. If your brake fails while you're riding your bike down a steep hill, it could cause a lot of angst, and the pucker factor would be quite high. Okay, let's get these put on. Okay guys, so what I did is I put the bolts on and I used my nut driver to snug them down, and now I've got my torque wrench, and the manual says to tighten them between 18 and 35 inch-pounds. It's a pretty broad range. I was kind of surprised at that. So I'm going to set them at 30, which is at slightly towards the higher end. I think that should be about right. And there's a pattern. They said just, you know, start with one. So I'll go around and just, it says jump straight across the other side, and then it says to go over one and then jump across. And what I'm doing is I'm just going around. I'll probably go around 2 or 3 times just to make sure that I don't overdo it. Alright, so you didn't hear the click as well. I could feel it more than hear it. So they're all at 30 inch-pounds now, and that's good. So the next thing is I'm going to, since these are used pads, they're not new pads. Typically if you're putting a new rotor on, you'd put new pads in the caliper. But I just replaced these like 2 or 3 months ago, and so I'm not going to put new ones in, but I'm going to show you a trick that will prepare those pads for the new rotor. Take your 3mm Allen wrench, or as some people like to say, hex wrench. I've always called them Allens, I don't know why. Alright, so you just, the holding bolt, and then they just slide out. They've got springs in them. You just pop them out and take a look. So then you could just take your sandpaper and just rough them a little bit. Alright, that's pretty clean. And then this is just a spring that holds them apart. It's kind of tedious to get all this together, but these are very good brakes, by the way. Alright, and these are marked left, right. So left, this is the left side, so we'll drop them in that way. And we'll put the screw back in. Make sure everything lines up right and that it goes through that spring, that the spring doesn't move. Yeah, it's got it in there. And then this, I'm sure there's a torque spec, but I just go tight. Alright, there we go. Alright, let's get this wheel on. And of course you see I've got the chain off, so I'm putting a new chain on the bike as well, so this is all my winter maintenance. But we've got the brand new rotor. well, it fit right in okay. Put the axle in. Okay. Okay, well, it'll be time to go out and ride it, and thanks for watching, guys.